Fun fact, even though it's called almond tofu, it has neither almond nor tofu. Welcome to my PowerPoint presentation on Liyue dishes in real life. Did you know that Liyue dishes are actually, for the most part, inspired by real life foods in the real life world of human beings and Chinese history, and many have cultural significance? I figured it was timely for me to share some of these dishes, their fun folklore origins. China is a very large country. We know that it's like geographically large, but I think it doesn't really register with everyone else just how diverse of a place it is. And while there's been a lot of mixing in recent years because of like food influencer culture, right? So like people pulling influences across their ethnic boundaries, and those crossovers are very fun. We'll talk a little more about sort of like the origins, the cultural origins of the food. All right. Actually, I want you guys to see the opening animation. I'm gonna refresh this so you guys can see. Liyue dishes IRL. On the menu today, we have Adeptus Temptation, Tianshu Meat, Mora Meat, Almond Tofu, and Universal Peace. All right, I also have a few others to mention, but these are the 5 that we're gonna focus on. There are tons of dishes. Again, like China's incredibly ethnically diverse. We have like literally over 50 different ethnic groups, and the culinary traditions across the regions are like wildly different. I couldn't possibly hope to represent all of them here, but we'll touch on these 5 and see how far it takes us, okay? This is just a starting point, okay? I think after this, you'll probably be intrigued enough to read up a little bit on the other dishes, and I guarantee you, most of the information that I have pulled, a lot of it comes off of the Genshin wiki, so you can super just go on the Genshin wiki and read up if you get curious about this after yourself. First up, we've got Adeptus Temptation, which is also known as 佛跳墙, which is literally translated to Buddha jumps over the wall, or Buddha's temptation is another way to refer to it. So this originates from the Fujian province of China. So it's like a shark fin based soup. It is exactly what it sounds like. Shark fin is literally shark fin, and it includes a lot of other really extra things like quail eggs, scallops, bamboo shoots, ginseng, taro, sea cucumber, and importantly, yellow wine, also known as huangjiu. It's a very common like cooking agent in Chinese dishes. Basically, it is extra as frick, and it can literally have like up to 30 main ingredients that are like at that level of extra. So it's like the whole point of it is meant to be extremely extra. There's actually a pretty fun origin story for this one. As the story goes, there's like a scholar who's traveling Fujian province, and he keeps all his food in this like clay jar that's meant to store wine primarily. Every day when it's time to eat, he'll like put this jar over an open fire and just heat it up, and he'll eat it out of the jar. And so as you can imagine, the jar, starts to collect a lot of eclectic goods over time. And every time he heats it up, it like gets more and more savory and delectable. Eventually he reaches Fuzhou, which is the capital of Fujian province, and he starts cooking as usual. He is right next to a Buddhist monastery where the monks are meditating, and the monks are not allowed to eat meat, but one of the monks smells this delicious aroma over the wall, and he hops he hops the wall and he starts eating. So that is where the origin of this dish is from. Supposedly, a monk literally jumped over a wall to eat this, and that is why Buddha himself might also be tempted. Therefore, Buddha's temptation, also known as in Genshin Impact, Adeptus Temptation. Cloud Retainer jumping over the wall, can you imagine? I feel like Cloud Retainer wouldn't need to jump though, right? Wouldn't he just fly? I think Cloud Retainer just cooks herself. What? Oh dear. What an image. I guess she would count as poultry. That's true. That's true. We're moving on. The next dish is Tianshu Meat. The Chinese name is Dongpo Rou. It's from Hangzhou province. The name Dongpo comes from actually a poet. Ancient Chinese poet Su Dongpo, also known as Su Shi, he's like traveling, or more accurately, he was, I think, banished to Hangzhou. And in the Hangzhou province, he was all about like helping the local people. He was like very much like, I'm gonna give up my life to serve the underserved, right? One day there's this like huge flood, and Su Dongpo, he like personally leads a bunch of people to go fix the city dam, which is broken due to the flood. And the whole process of like patching up the dam takes 77 days. Which is, I guess, a significant number because it's mentioned in the lore for some reason. So the local people were like, wow, you're a hero. We really want to thank you. And so they were giving him all of their like pork and the local rice wine, which is also known as huangjiu, which was mentioned earlier in the Adeptus Temptation. But he was like, no, I can't accept your gift. So instead he takes the pork and the rice wine and he cooks them together into this like stewed pork dish and then sends it back to all of the families of the city. And so this dish therefore became named after him. It's called dongpo rou. So the cooking process is just like standard soy sauce braising, like what we call hongshao rou, which is literally like red cooked meat, I guess. It's a very standard cooking style, right, in across lots of different Chinese cuisines. And so this is like one such iteration of the style. I've actually made a very similar dish on stream before. During a cooking stream, I made Shanghai hongshao rou, which is just Shanghainese red braised pork. Very similar. I don't think I added huangjiu that time. I did add some kind of cooking wine, but it wasn't huangjiu specifically. And so basically the identifying factors that make dongpo rou specifically and not any kind of other hongshao rou is not just the red braising, which is the common factor, but also the yellow wine, so huangjiu, plus the cross-cut serving method. That's what identifies dongpo rou. So now you know. All right, moving on. Next up, number 3, we got Mora Meat, Yingguang specialty. Very delicious. I used to eat this a lot on the streets of Shanghai. It's a very popular street food. So the Chinese name of this one is called 肉夹馍, which is literally just like rice sandwiched between buns, is the literal translation of 肉夹馍. It is a street food, and it's actually like super ancient. The origins of this dish are, it's like so old. Some people call this the original hamburger, which I think is interesting. The idea that Americans didn't invent hamburgers, German people didn't invent hamburgers. No. Chinese people did. And not just any Chinese people, like the OG Chinese people, okay? Like, so to give you a sense of the timeline here, okay? The mo, which is the northern way of saying mantou is like the bun. The mo here is from the Qin dynasty, as in like Qin Shi Huang's Qin dynasty, okay? That's like 221 BC Qin dynasty. That's how old these hamburger buns are. Okay, and the meat inside, that's from the Zhou dynasty, which is before the Qin dynasty and started around like 1040-ish BC. That's how old this sloppy Joe is. Yep, ancient hamburger. Did you know Chinese people invented hamburgers? Oh, bet you came into this scholarly PowerPoint presentation not expecting that factoid. Now you know. Why does it sound like I'm bullshitting? I'm actually not bullshitting. Like 100% Chinese people invented hamburgers. Look at this thing. That's a hamburger. It's meat between buns. That's a hamburger. Anyway, this is usually the meat in the middle. 肉 is literally, it just means meat, like generic term for meat. It's usually pork, but because this is a dish that is from Shanxi province, and also like therefore there's a lot of like Muslim groups in the Shanxi area. And Muslim people obviously cannot eat pork. And so frequently the inside, which is usually pork, is often in the Shanxi area, often substituted with beef or sometimes lamb. So both, you'll find all kinds of meat basically in a 肉夹馍. Also interestingly, just so you all know, if you've never heard of Shanxi province before, understandable, right? But just so you know, get a sense of it, its capital city is Xi'an. And Xi'an is the historic capital of China, and that's where you can find like the terracotta warriors and a lot of other like ancient Chinese historical artifacts. So this is an ancient burger from an ancient province with an ancient city. Honestly, if you're ever just like anywhere in China and you see like a street food cart selling these things, street food is kind of dying in China, to be honest, but you'll find like little vendors and booths on the sides of the streets, right? If you ever see this, definitely try it out. Delicious. Extremely convenient also, because again, it's just a bun with meat in it, and you know, you get all your nutrition and you're just vibing on the street, and it's cheap, so you should eat it. Next one is almond tofu, which we all know is Xiao's specialty. My baby boy Xiao, he said it tastes like dreams, okay? And he is 100% correct. It tastes like dreams. I love this shit. It is so good. It is delicious. Maybe a little bit of an acquired taste, I will give you that, but it's delicious. It's like extremely silky texture. It's very lightly sweet. And then the toppings are so flexible. Generally speaking, it's served with like fruit, but honestly, you can put whatever you want on it. However, fun fact, even though it's called almond tofu, it has neither almond nor tofu. So the Chinese name, 杏仁, is supposedly almond. Supposedly, bear with me, okay? And tofu is supposedly tofu. So basically, tofu in Chinese dish names can refer to tofu-like solids without being strictly tofu, just so y'all know. 杏仁 is often misinterpreted and mistranslated as almond. It's actually not correct. So 杏仁果 is almond, and 杏仁 is actually apricot kernel. Apricot kernels is 杏仁. 杏 is apricot, kernel is 仁. 杏仁果 is almond. 果 just means like fruit, basically. And so you can see how this could be easily misconstrued, right? So Now you know. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. There's like so many things, I've like said things, I've read a bullet point and they've been like, so now you know. The ingredients, the good in this. Number 1 is apricot kernel, and number 2 is agar. And that's kind of it. That's pretty much all you need to make the tofu. So the way you prepare this is you soak apricot kernels in water, you grind that up, and then you strain it, sweeten it, and heat it with agar. And so the agar makes it like gelatinous and becomes like a tofu-like texture, right? And so because the only ingredients are apricot kernels and agar, it's technically a vegan dish, which is interesting. However, in most modern variations, so if you were to order almond tofu in a restaurant nowadays, they often will make it with gelatin instead of agar, and sometimes they'll use almond milk instead of apricot kernel milk. So obviously the gelatin is not vegan. So just so you all know when you go out there and order it, in case you're vegan. There's lots of different ways of making this dish now that may not strictly be apricot kernels and agar, but it still comes out tasting largely the same, right? And honestly, when I make this at home, which I've also done a stream for, I just use powder packets. You can get them in like Chinese supermarkets. Most Asian supermarkets carry them. I think wherever you find the mango pudding powder, you can find the almond tofu powder. It's the easiest way to make it. The gelatin's like in it already. So you just have to add water and heat it up. And you kind of put it in like this shallow tray. And then once it sets, you like cut a grid shape into it. And that's how you get the like little square shapes. So that's modern almond tofu, made from powder packets. Just add water. Convenient. It's actually quite delicious. It tastes very 正宗. How do you say that? Authentic. It tastes very authentic. The powder is fine. Please buy the powder. It will make your life easier. Don't try to be like grinding apricot kernels and straining what. No. Just buy the powder. Okay, swallow your pride. Buy the powder. It's like buying cake mix, okay? It'll make your life easier. I actually grew up eating almond tofu in dim sum restaurants. So dim sum restaurants are Cantonese, and the way that Cantonese people serve almond tofu is they put fruit, usually canned fruit, and you just open a can of canned fruit and you just kind of dump it over the almond tofu, and like that's the dish. It's delicious. So that's what I grew up with. And then I, started playing Genshin Impact, and they were like, "This is almond tofu," and I was like, "What the hell is that topping? That ain't fruit." And so thanks to Genshin Impact, I looked up almond tofu, and I found out that the traditional way of serving almond tofu is actually not with fruit. The thing that is here is Osmanthus Honey Syrup. That's like the traditional way of serving almond tofu. I didn't know until, like Genshin taught me things about Chinese tradition as it continues to do. Which I think is more of an acquired taste than the canned fruit is, because the osmanthus like flowers stay in the honey and they are kind of gritty and not a lot of people like that texture. And also the osmanthus flower flavor is like very present. And so I think fruit is maybe more palatable to people who are already not familiar with the dish. So if you're gonna try it for the first time, most of the time when you order it in a restaurant, it's gonna come with fruit anyway. But if you ever get the chance to make it at home, try it with the Osmanthus Honey Syrup. You can make that at home too. Dried osmanthus is very easy to buy as well. It's tasty. You just might need to get used to it a little bit. Yeah. I like Osmanthus Honey Syrup. I think it's delicious. What? Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember. Okay. I'm glad you guys are also triggered by the word osmanthus nowadays. Oh my God, Rin came to visit me back in November, and we were out for boba. And I was like, oh, this boba place we're at has a really good osmanthus milk tea. And Rin straight up, she was like, osmanthus is real? I don't think she's ever gotten over it. I don't know, I'm just like so amused that people don't realize that osmanthus is real. Yes, osmanthus is a real flower. Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember, because osmanthus is a real flower that really exists in the real world and not just in Genshin Impact. Did you know? Now you all know. Anyway, sorry. I tell that story a little bit at Rin's expense, but I'm glad, you know what? She's not alone. If she looks in chat, it's a bunch of y'all going like, no fucking way, osmanthus is real. So you're not alone, Rin. A bunch of people here also thought osmanthus was not real. Here we are. We don't touch grass or flowers, apparently. All right, anyways, that's the story of almond tofu. I don't really know if there's an origin story necessarily, but we'll go with the Xiao origin story, which is that it tastes like dreams. All of this is really just to make the point that like Genshin Impact itself has for me been a really fantastic entry point into learning about my own culture, right? Like I didn't even know about Osmanthus Honey Syrup being the traditional topping for almond tofu, nor did I honestly know about almond tofu not including almond or tofu until I played Genshin Impact. So I may be Chinese myself, but I'm learning too. Y'all should never feel bad about not knowing things, because none of us ever know anything until we learn it. That sounds really redundant, but I promise it has like actual deep meaning. Let's move on to the next thing. Universal peace. Whose dish is this? Where are my Ganyu Sims? Yeah, look at the Ganyu Sims. Ganyu Sims, rise up. Let's go. Universal peace is also known as 八宝饭. This literally translates to 8 treasures rice. 八 is 8, 宝 is treasures, and 饭 is rice. The 八 is a lucky sort of fortuitous number in Chinese culture because it sounds kind of like 发, which means to be rich. So 8 is a lucky number in Chinese for like pun reasons, which I think is very cute. The 8 treasures that go into this dish are honestly whatever you want. It's a very flexible dish. I find that's what I like about 八宝饭actually, is it's so easy to like adapt to modern tastes. So traditionally speaking, there's like jujube, which is like a Chinese date, lotus seeds, goji berries. Those are, you know, the traditional 8 treasures, but you can substitute the 8 treasures with whatever you want, whatever your heart desires. You want Skittles in your 八宝饭? Put Skittles in your 八宝饭. I'm not here to judge. As long as I don't have to eat it, you can put whatever you want, okay? Whatever you designate as a treasure, go ahead. Follow your dreams. The only thing that you need to know when you are constructing your 八宝饭, if you're wondering like how they get this shape, basically you take a bowl and then you like line the sides, like the bottom of the bowl and the sides of the bowl with your 8 treasures. So in your case, it might be Skittles. But in my case, I like to put the jujubes. I like the goji berries. I'll do like dried fruits a lot, cranberries sometimes. Dried pears is popular. So you kind of like line the side of the bowl and then you pack it in with glutinous rice. And then you put a layer of usually red bean paste. But you can also do jujube paste if you want. Some kind of, you know, filling paste, whatever you want. And then pack it in again with glutinous rice. So it's like a little sandwich of red bean paste with stuff at the bottom of the bowl, right? Because it's at the bottom of the bowl and you've like sort of packed it all in really tight, you slap a plate over it, invert it, shake it out, and then you've got this like up inverted bowl shape with all of the toppings like on top and like embedded in the rice. So that's how you construct it. One interesting factoid is there is a kanji version of this. So for those of you who don't know what kanji is, it's like rice porridge, basically. There's a rice porridge version of this called 八宝粥. And similarly, it's like you basically just fill it in with like 8 treasures, whatever you want. And it's a kanji and you eat it. The main takeaway of this particular dish is that it is a lucky, auspicious dish because it has 8 treasures in it. And you eat it when you need luck. In my case, my fondest memories of this dish are actually, you can buy this frozen really easily from like Chinese supermarkets. So my mom used to always have a few of these in the freezer. And whenever I had a big test in high school, it was like a big testing day, she would steam me one of these 八宝饭 for breakfast before my SATs or APs or whatever, which I thought, I don't know, it like brings back some, I guess, bittersweet memories because I didn't like taking those tests, but sort of the gesture of care, right? You know how in Asian cultures, like Asian parents are always like they don't apologize, they bring you cut fruit, right? They're not gonna say I love you, but they're gonna say have you had dinner? Food is how East Asians like express familial love for each other. And to me, this dish is a gesture of maternal love because it brings back those memories. I'm actually tearing up. Anyway, you can super find these frozen at the grocery store. You don't have to make them yourself. They are delicious either way. Oh, I will warn you though that it's very dense. It's very like, because it's glutinous rice, not just normal rice, right? So it's very heavy in your stomach. So don't try to eat one of these all on your own. You will be suffering. For context, like a normal bowl-sized one of these, my whole family of 4 will share one for breakfast. And we'll be damn full by the end of it. That's our universal peace 8 treasures rice. I just wanted to show you guys that like there's a lot more. The jade parcels kind of look like that in real life. That's our best guess. To be fair, I actually don't super know what jade parcels are for sure. They might be an invented dish because it depends on if you interpret the parcels as being like cabbage rolls or if they're dough. You know what I mean? Like, are those dumplings or are they lettuce wraps? Depending. It could be a different answer, but you see these like green looking dumplings? My mom actually made that once and I didn't even know it was like a Wang Hong kind of thing that was happening in China for a while. Like people in China were just making these because they thought it was cool. Golden shrimp balls! You may have had these at dim sum restaurants. So if you go to a dim sum restaurant, keep your eye out. It's literally just fried shrimp balls. I don't know if there's cultural significance. They're tasty. Buy them. Trust. Come and get it is pun choi. It's pun cai. This literally translates to like basin dish, I guess. So like a big basin of food. Just imagine that. And so it's called Come and Get It. I think the Genshin description is like, oh, because it's like so full of good things, you lay it on the table and then you tell your guests come and get it and they help themselves. That is how you eat pun choi. You just put it in the middle of the table and everyone helps themselves. But this is very similar to Adeptus Temptation in the sense that it's like filled with lots of things and it builds up in layers and it's all like really extra things. So like our pun choi this year had like scallops in the center. There was fa cai. It's a good thing for the new year because it is, again, a pun. It sounds like get rich. Fa cai sounds like fa cai. Fa cai is get rich. So you put fa cai in your pun choi. People put anything in these things. There's hella shrimp. all kinds of fish usually. You just fill up the bowl, man. You just fill the basin up and then everyone comes and gets it. My favorite part's the scallop personally, but yeah. All right, y'all. That's it. That's it for my very scholarly PowerPoint presentation. Round of applause for our very attentive audience. If you're watching this on YouTube after, tell me what your favorite Genshin Liyue dish is that you want to try, okay? Put it in the comments.